Is there a deck so powerful in Vintage that it doesn't even need any power to win? Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Vintage video, and today I'm going to be helping someone prepare for Eternal Weekend. So in case you're not familiar with what that is, Eternal Weekend is one of the largest legacy and vintage events in the entire world. And generally speaking, since vintage is incredibly expensive, there is usually an unpowered prize. That is, there is a prize for the person who does best in the tournament without registering any power. And sometimes we mean power in air quotes, where some other cards also aren't allowed, like, say, Bazaar of Baghdad. And so I'm going to be helping someone kind of test their budget brew. And I'm going to kind of do this in a couple of stages here. And first, I'm going to show you what they originally sent me. And I'm going to keep their name anonymous because the vintage scene is kind of small and I don't want to tip my hand about who that donor was. So this was the deck list that I was originally sent. And the idea is very clear. Play powerful hate cards and accelerate them out with things like Spirit Guide or maybe Deathrite Shaman, and back them up with some free cards. And the theory here, I thought, was really solid. But as I only get to play a handful of vintage games every year, I kicked it over to an expert. And I messaged IamActuallyLvL1, aka Justin Gennari, and I said, hey Justin, gut feeling, what do you think about this deck? And he said, I think John's bad and 2 mana removal spells are unplayable. Oof. So that's going to set our donor back quite a bit. So why don't we take a look at what I came up with after reading some feedback from Justin. Okay, this is the deck list that I am going to be playing today. And Justin essentially said that you should probably cut red and look into the scam package of Grief, Reanimate, and Troll of Khazad-dûm, which has been doing just so much work in Legacy. And it's not surprising that even by vintage standards, this still would be quite powerful. And we do have some powerful green-black hybrid cards that can pitch to both Force of Vigor and Grief. The main deck here is very similar to a fully powered vintage deck. It's actually just 3 cards off, the 2 on-color Moxen and Black Lotus. I have replaced those with copies of Elvish Spirit Guide, as they can still accelerate out our threats while also pitching to Force of Vigor. So this is 3 cards short of a legit vintage deck, and this is something that doesn't want to play a whole bunch of artifact mana because it's trying to stop artifact mana with a full 4 copies of Collector Ouphe. Now, Justin did send me this alternative black-green deck list as well as an option that utilized Hermit Druid and Thassa's Oracle as an easy combo, with the idea being that you can just go and reanimate your Thassa's Oracle after you mill your entire library with Hermit Druid. So this was an alternative take. I felt like this was riskier and further away from the original vision that I was sent, so I opted not to try this out. Now, today's video was sponsored by Moxfield.com and as well as Cool Stuff Inc. So if you need any paper cards for your vintage event, check out Cool Stuff and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. And I'm happy to be playing some vintage again. Let's battle. All right, I quite like this hand. I think it would be a little bit better on the play, but that's every format. Yep. Maybe they'll just pass the turn without using their Lotus. Oh, okay. Yes. So let's see how crazy this can get. Fastpawn can get a little bit silly. There's a stage. There's a Dark Depths. Fuck. That's just turn 1. Produce Merit Lodge. They don't give a shit about my Collector Ouphe. Yeah. Fuck. Okay. We got vintaged, folks. We got vintaged so effing hard. I don't have edicts, right? Yeah, this destroys. Like, I could try to play an endurance to chump block. That would require getting another Spirit Guide off of this, but that just buys me 1 turn. Yeah. Scoop them up. We got fast bonded. Good God. So I don't know exactly what my opponent's deck looks like, if I'm being fully honest. This is not something that I've played against before. I imagine against Urza Saga, these can't be that bad. This is, I think, all I'm going to play, not knowing what my opponent is doing. I'll keep Misstep and Chalice. Ogak seems expendable. My opponent has shown me Retrofitter Foundry. They will have some artifacts. I don't know how many they'll actually have. Can probably trim like this to board in these three. Yes. This produces a turn 2 troll while having Force of Vigor available for turn 1. I'm perfectly happy with that. Must be nice. Yep. Okay, this is a cool spot. So there is now a trigger on the stack, which means that I can Force of Vigor. So choose 1, 2, exile Force of Vigor, and take out both of those. Alright. Alright, it is a new Urza Saga. I can Wasteland that on my turn, but we've kept my opponent from making a secondary land drop here. Yep. So let's get some Bayous. Swamp Cycle. Grab Bayou. Attempt to reanimate my troll, which I assume is resolving. Nice. And then for tempo reasons, I am still going to just Wasteland that Urza Saga, despite the fact that my opponent has Life from the Loam. Yes, this is fine. Oh, nice. So I do have to keep in mind that Tabernacles are relatively common in this format. No other creatures in graveyard to reanimate. We'll drop a Bayou and pass. Okay. Ibo Seiju. That is an interesting draw. I think I just play it and drop a Collector Ouphe, because 6 + 2 is 8, which is the amount of life that my opponent's at, but that stops me from pitch cast Force of Vigor, which sometimes I need to do on this turn. Alright, we have Force to game 3. I still haven't seen a lot of cards from my opponent. I don't know that my sideboarding is going to get any better. Collector Ouphe does nothing if my opponent draws their lowest on turn 1 for a third game, so we'll kind of keep that in mind. I have now seen Life from the Loam. I can decide whether or not I want to mess around with Leyline of the Void. Orcish Bowmasters is not exactly impressive here, based on what I'm seeing so far. If I do this, I can board in Leylines. I'll be a little reliant on Griefs and Trolls to get my opponent. But this is nice overlap with Deathrite Shaman in terms of keeping the graveyard in check. This may be too much graveyard hate, though. The Leyline's still just pitched to Grief, though. Awkward. Like, do I keep a hand that Leylines on turn 0 and then Wastelands my opponent's first land but does kind of nothing else? Feels like no. Feels like no. There's one land away from greatness. I'll go to 5. On 5, I keep this. Chalice goes back, and one land goes back. Not super happy about this, but hopefully I can do some cool stuff. Alright. Play an Urza Saga for me to Force a Vigor. Nice. Do I Once Upon a Time or Collector Ouphe as the pitch? I think I cast Once Upon a Time. Strip Mine. Strip Mine's pretty cool. Let's take that. So Force of Vigor, targeting both of the relevant permanents, and then I'll Strip Mine this. And hope my opponent does not just Life from the Loam and invalidate this. I don't have a lot of resources left. Maybe I've got enough. Okay. No creatures to reanimate. Ooh, love this. I'm not gonna fetch to Thin. Nice. So let's fetch. I'm fine grabbing a basic. I'll Swamp Cycle. Grab a Bayou. Play land. Reanimate my troll. We've got a pretty good chance at winning this game. My opponent is... Okay, there's a land. A Life from the Loam can be very good here. Oh, swords. That sets me back a lot. And it's swords specifically, so it's not like the creature is just chilling in the graveyard for me to hit with Reanimate. Yeah, that's a Loam. Which is so incredibly good. Oh, opponent's not going for the Urza Saga. That probably means they have another, like, Exploration or Fast Bond or something. Yep. Alright, hands off the wheel. Whatever happens, happens here. Yep. Drop rotation? Yep. Strip Mine. Okay. So, Strip Mine recursion is a thing that is potentially about to happen. So I'll Swamp Cycle this, grab a Bayou, play a Bayou, reanimate my troll. It is going to be tough to keep up with recursive Urza Saga, but troll's hard to block. Hopefully I can get 3 hits off. I don't know whether or not I'm going to have to worry about something like Maze of Ith out of this deck. Oh god. Yeah, Strip Mine Fast Bond Crucible is certainly a thing. So now I have to worry about Tabernacle just being a thing. Yeah. Okay. I wonder if those last couple of land drops were correct for losing the life. I also don't know whether or not I have to deal with Shadow Spear. Oh god, there's more. What else are you doing? Oh, just more life from the loam, sure. Okay, yep. Alright. I really wanted a green card there to take out both copies of Urza Saga, but you can't have it all. 6 damage? I don't know why my troll is so small. I guess it's because my opponent has so many lands going across. So, that creature is a 3/3. Can very easily become a 6/6 or 7/7 this turn. Lose to Brittle Effigy here. I expect we're going to end up seeing just a few tokens. Oh, I guess my opponent can, like, straight up triple block my troll. Whatever, we'll draw a green card for Force of Vigor. Doesn't seem like my opponent is heavy on stack interaction. Zurin Orb. Is that just infinite life? Like, Zurin Orb is 2 life, Fast Bond makes, yeah. Yuck. So now my opponent can just, like, replay all of these lands at the cost of 1 life when they gain them 2. From here, I think I am just going to do the gentlemanly thing and concede the game and not make my opponent take a gajillion game actions. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, which is just the best place to host your online deck lists, and I don't think it's close. I think it's wonderfully organized, and you can have a great system of folders so that you can go through, separate your decks by whatever you want. I separate mine by format. I have just a few legacy decks, and Moxfield is able to keep track of all the decks that even someone like me makes, so please consider checking them out. All right, round 2. How is this if I get a land off Once Upon a Time? Very good is the answer, right? Like, Grief probably pitching second Reanimate. Reanimate Grief, take 2 cards, have Force of Vigor backup afterwards. I'm gonna risk it and then become the Joker when Once Upon a Time does not hit a black mana source. Here we go. Okay, good. We found Bayou. Play Bayou. Grief. Maybe I do Bowmasters. That way I get a second shot at Reanimate if it gets countered. Not guaranteed to hit my other mana, and Deathrite Shaman is green for pitching 2 Force of Vigor. Alright, what's going on over there? Time Vault, Voltaic Key, 1 ring is what's going on over there. Opponent has no counterspell, so I can let them keep Vault Key. Like, I can take their acceleration in the form of Dark Ritual, and take the One Ring as their source of card advantage, and then answer some portion of Time Vault, Voltaic Key with Force of Vigor. That's fine. Hold on, was that a Watery Grave in that hand? Sorry, that just hit me. So, take the One Ring and pass. Yeah, that was a Watery Grave, sure enough. Don't love that top deck. I made the play that I did specifically because I thought it was safe. Because my opponent had no counterspells. Alright. Boseiju. Is that a land or is that a spell? Hard to say right now. I think it's a land. I have to hold Deathrite Shaman for Force of Vigor. Alright, there's the Saga. I'm hoping to hit Saga and one of the two pieces of this. Yep. So let's attempt to Force of Vigor. Pitching the Deathrite Shaman and taking out both of those. Yep. Please don't find a counterspell. Alright, cool. We are still playing Magic. Another Force of Vigor is not really what I want right now. Like, I wanted like a Collector Ouphe, just kind of slam the door on artifacts, or alternatively a Bowmasters. Keeping the second Reanimate may have ended up being a mistake. It's like fine if my opponent is playing creatures though. Okay. Scary things are happening. I think I have a decent amount of good draws here. Awkward. Like, the fact that I can't just pitch this card to the Grief and then reanimate it to take 2 cards is super awkward. And if I pitch cast this Grief, then my reanimate is gone. I just don't think I can wait a turn after my opponent tutors. My opponent's already at 9. I only need 3 turns. Let's see what I can do. Yawgmoth's Will. No. No. You don't get to do that. So we do have to start worrying about Urza Saga tokens being a thing. Grief's Menace helps out a bit with that. I am hoping that Force of Vigor will finish this game if I draw a green card. Nice. So I'm going to send in with Grief. My opponent will make an Urza Saga Construct token. And then in my opponent's upkeep, I will go for Force of Vigor on their Urza Saga Construct token and their land, I believe. Yes, I don't think I want them to search. Construct and Saga, pitching Spirit Guide. They'll make a new construct. Okay. And I'm just hoping no creature here for Grief blocks. Ooh. Well, that'll at least let me know if a Bowmaster is coming, I suppose. Okay, cool. So I'll send in for 3. And hopefully Grief is lethal next turn. Okay. Okay. That doesn't seem like it just wins the game, though. I was worried about, like, a Sphinx of the Steel Wind. Okay. Nice. That'll do. So my opponent's got the One Ring, Time Vault combo, Yawgmoth's Will, Bolas's Citadel. Do I want to Damping Sphere to kind of help out with the, like, pseudo-storm elements from Tinker? Probably. What neither Dismember nor Snuff Out would answer a Sphinx of the Steel Wind. Yes, Virtue's Ruin would, but that might be me getting too narrow with my cards. I think I'm okay with some of this stuff for Urza Saga. I think I'll think about these. I don't think I want Leyline for Yawgmoth's Will. What's my worst stuff here? The Hogak feels like it's usually going to be expendable to me. I'm basically never touching this. Grist? Grist is probably expendable. That gets me these. And then I think about whether or not I want Damping Sphere over, say, Endurance. I've cut 3 green cards and added 2, so my Force of Vigors are approximately as castable as they were before. I'm going to get rid of Endurance to play Damping Sphere. Not sure how I feel about it. Grief, Pitch, Bowmaster, Reanimate. I think it is very telling that this is a 4-card keepable vintage hand, and we're allowed to do this in Legacy too. And you're allowed to do very similar things in Modern as well, but with the Undying Evil type cards instead. Alright, my opponent has taken a mulligan to 5 here. Let's see what they can do. Alright, sure. Being able to use off-color Moxen to fix your mana is fucking sweet. I love that. So my opponent is getting Underground Sea and then not playing it? Playing around a Wasteland effect, I guess. So, Grief. Pitch, Bowmasters. See what's going on over there. I will take Demonic Tutor. Evoke Grief. Play Swamp. Reanimate. Target Grief. I believe I just leave Bolas's Citadel in their hand and take their Dark Ritual. If I take Dark Ritual, then they can't just go and top deck the One Ring. Dismember. Sure. That's fine. I have a secondary threat with this hand. Ooh, Wasteland is cool. So let's fetch. Don't think I need basics against this deck. I'll grab a Bayou. I don't know if I'm supposed to sorcery speed Orcish Bowmasters or not in this format. I'm going to say that I will. But I just don't have heuristics from reps to know for sure. I want my opponent to play out that Underground Sea. I want it. Nice. Oh. Love this for me. Wasteland Underground Sea. Attack in for 2 points of damage, bringing my opponent to 13. Then I believe this is worth the life that I give my opponent. I've already made my land drop, so we're good. And now we're just kind of hoping to draw a Reanimate to put a Grief in play, or a Collector Ouphe or something like that to kind of put this over the top. Deathrite Shaman's great. That's just some graveyard hate while literally doubling my clock. I'm very happy with that. No play from my opponent this turn. I'm fine playing this out. I don't think I need to hold that information. Opponent's at 13. And has no play yet again. Blowing up lands, still good. I will exile your Demonic Tutor. Get out. This feels good. I'm glad these cards were never legal in Legacy at the same time. Short of something like a Toxic Deluge, it kind of feels like this one is over. I'll fetch. Grab Bayou. Use Bayou to drop Collector Ouphe. And opponent's done with us. GG's. Okay, this doesn't feel like it's gonna do it. Force of Vigor is cool. But I don't know that, 3 pieces of mana denial with no clock in play is gonna cut it. So let's try to find, Grief and Reanimate or something. So how is this? How good is it to just keep a hand that goes turn 1 Bowmasters? I would not keep this on 7, but we're not on 7, we're on 6. So this hand may just become Bear Creature Beatdown .plan. Not what I want to be doing, but what I am going to be doing. I'm going to play Bayou and pass. I think the surprise of Orcish Bowmasters matters here. Plus, I don't want to play this out because I only have 1 green card. I don't think I just play Bowmasters. I think I just make another land drop and pass the turn. Sure. Nice. We are going for the old upkeep ancestral. So, let's cast Orcish Bowmasters. My opponent said Elvish Spirit Guides. Oh man, wrecked. Oh no, folks. I just realized that I had my mic muted, and I don't know how long it was muted for. So, I think that You missed my opponent casting Tinker, putting Sphinx of the Steel Wind in play, and then I Besaged it. Apologies for that. But my opponent started doing some typing in chat, and I muted to respond to them. All right, we've got a Saga. That represents chump blockers right now. Trinket Mage. Trinket Mage. Vintage? Getting like the other half of Vault Key combo, or is there something more sinister? Oh. Okay, fair. The One Ring. Okay. So I can't shoot my opponent. They have protection from everything. I can hit their creature, and if they end up drawing another card, I can kill it. I don't think they're going to. This protection from everything is real good here. Yeah, I'll be unfortunately passing the turn. So this gives my opponent a chance to start activating Urza's Saga. And we're going to kind of hope that they don't have a way to gain life. If they don't have a way to gain life, I might be able to check the One Ring. But if something like Shadow Spear exists in their deck, it is not looking good for the home team. Top's fine. Top has the words draw a card on it. I wonder if my opponent was supposed to make an Urza Saga construct token and then tap. Or no, they playing top and making Urza Saga both give one additional artifact. JK, never mind. Draw some cards. All the cool kids are doing it. Negative. I do not miss Sensei's Divining Top in Legacy. I'm very nostalgic for that general era, but I'm glad that I don't have to play against it anymore. Now, every Time Walk is damage from the One Ring. So there's that. So this brings my opponent to 7. Okay. I'm going to go face here rather than to Trinket Mage. Because if my opponent... and in case Pithing Needles are involved, I'm going to go ahead and fetch. I don't know that they are in this format, but good heuristics. Or that's not really a heuristic. Good. I mean, I guess it's kind of a heuristic, like fetch before Urza Saga resolved. Yeah, all right, that's fine. It is a mana boost. That's Displacer Kitten, which can probably get pretty scary. So that's gonna flicker Mana Vault. Okay. Finding a Mox. Flickering a Trinket Mage. This is super cute. Finding a Mox. So I imagine we're going to repeat this a couple of times. They do it again, getting Jet. And then the next time, Emerald. The next time, Rubies in Graveyard, so it's not that. Oh, Mox Opal. We're still going. Playing the Opal. Gets Soul Ring. Soul Ring. Gets Sensei's Divining Top. Sensei's Divining Top, I suppose, can get more copies of Sensei's Divining Top. Yep. Alright, my opponent got a second Sensei's Divining Top, and is now drawing a card with top. Untapping top. Getting 11 mana. Tapping top. Orcish Bowmasters triggers. Am I supposed to target my opponent or Displacer Kitten? Target. My opponent just casts a spell. Well, I guess there's a second Sensei's Divining Top trigger on the stack. I'm going to target Displacer Kitten. So, I think my opponent messed up. I think if they do this one draw at a time, I can never kill Displacer Kitten. So now let's attempt to kill Displacer Kitten. Brainstorm saves it. Kind of. The Displacer Kitten blinks itself, and then Brainstorm happens. So I can put triggers on the stack. Okay, they're going to counter their own Brainstorm here. Okay, that's cute. So I still have an Orcish Bowmaster trigger. Or sorry, that one fizzles. because that was targeting Displacer Kitten, I guess. That gets key, sure. My opponent is taking a very large number of game actions, and I'm not sure if they result in a win yet. I think I'm just going face here. I go face anytime my opponent only produces one trigger at a time, and if my opponent's going to produce multiple with something like Brainstorm, then I go after the cat. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Okay. Second kitten. Sure. So I'll just ping my opponent here. They're at 4. They don't get many more draws. Okay. They're at 3. There's a new top. We can reset the ring. And get some extra mana. Yeah, so my opponent wants to find a copy of the one ring that they can cast. They need protection. Because then they can do some nonsense without Orcish Bowmasters just ruining everything. Time Vault. That seems pretty good. I think I make my opponent demonstrate a win, though, because it seems like it's pretty easy to accidentally lose. Yep. So, with a second key, they've got me. With a second key, they can make a creature unblockable and then untap Time Vault. Yep. Yeah, this is currently fine. Okay, so they are untapping a key. Untapping Time Vault, sure. You can queue up some extra turns. Yeah, I'm going to make my opponent realize that they can kill me. But I think I'm going to fast forward the video for you all. Oh, I've been here for, I don't know, 7 minutes or something like that. My opponent doesn't realize that Manifold Key can give unblockable. They've got a giant Urza Saga Construct token, but they've been using Manifold Key to queue up extra turns with Time Vault instead of killing me. So I think they are going to time out in game 3. Alright, we're finally at the point where we are getting some actual combat. Oh, I suppose I can take 16 once. Go to 2. And then I am deterministically dead on the following attack step. They can queue up an extra turn before they kill me, though. That's fine. Actually, was that game 1? It might have been game 1. Yeah, I haven't sideboarded yet. This is game 1. They are almost certainly timing out. So I can Pithing Needle for Urza Saga and the One Ring. I can Nature's Claim for assorted artifacts. Damping Sphere is interesting for stopping combo lines, and I can consider some of this stuff as well. So Endurance is pretty mediocre here. About the best thing that it can do is just block 2/2 creatures that my opponent can attack with. I'm not overly fond of Hogak. Chalice is fine when I'm on the play. This stuff comes in for these. Grist is probably expendable for these. Okay, how is this with another random creature? Medium. Well, I guess if it's Grief specifically, Grief pitch Deathrite Shaman Reanimate Grief is pretty respectable. I'm actually going to keep this. Ouphe and Bowmasters are both incredibly good. Which is better? I'm going to say Ouphe, but it's close. Let's go Bayou and attempt turn 1 Collector Ouphe. I can reanimate it next turn if my opponent removes it or counters it. Sure. So let's Wasteland, Wasteland Tundra, cast Deathrite Shaman, attack for 2. Opponent's at 18. My opponent has conceded, knowing that the clock is against them. So when I'm on the draw, some things like Snuff Out become slightly more interesting. Damping Sphere becomes a little worse on the draw. Snuff Out helps a lot versus random Urza Saga tokens. Urza Saga tokens are one of the primary ways that my opponent will win. I just do have like Force of Vigor though. My chalice is pretty medium when I'm on the draw. I'm gonna say this is still fine though. How is this? I have turn 1 Bowmasters and maybe turn 1 Grief as well. I have a Wasteland as follow-up. This is fine. Okay. We're just gonna pass. I'm good with that. That's an Ouphe, which I can play on turn 1. So am I griefing first? I think I grief first. So let's grief. Pitch a Bowmasters. This can take a removal spell from my opponent. Force of Will. That's very easily the take here. So then I will go ahead and fetch. Grab Bayou. And drop a turn 1 Collector Ouphe. I'll be able to wasteland my opponent's Tundra that they play out. And keep them from getting to 3 mana for something like Teferi. And I'll also get Bowmasters involved. This one is probably a pretty easy win from here. That's not to say that things can't happen, because they definitely can, but we're in great shape. Bash in for 2. Opponent's at 18. Sure. Rough. So I will just Nature's Claim that before that thing can produce mana. I'm just going to fetch another land out of my deck now. I don't want other lands for the rest of this game. I'll go to combat, attack my opponent for 2, bring them to 18. I will go ahead and upkeep this to not give my opponent more chances to draw Force of Will. They're at 17. Key is fine. Doesn't do anything. Reanimate on Grief is pretty good. Send in. Opponent's at 13. Reanimate Grief. All this stuff is essentially off. I'll take the one that costs the lowest amount of mana accordingly. I have my opponent on a 2-turn clock. And they're done. Blah. I have a very good 6-card hand here, in that the Force of Vigor is not currently usable. Sure. Now, I will Grief on turn 1 and end up reanimating on turn 2 most of the time. Unless I, like, spike a black source here. Which I did not. So, am I griefing right now? Probably. I think pitching the second copy of Grief. Oh, vintage? Vintage? And it's awkward that my opponent has both Force of Negation and Swords. That means that they can stop my Reanimate that's coming. Can I mulligan the entire matchup? I would like to mulligan the entire matchup. I'm going to take Swords. I think Swords and Force of Negation are pretty close. If I take Force of Negation, I can try to do some cute things where I like Force of Vigor a Mox Pearl to take them off of white. Yeah. I'm gonna swap cycle. Get a Bayou. And I'm gonna have to be careful about this Lavinia. It has some very relevant words against me. So I know that Force of Negation is a thing that is in my opponent's hand. I know most of their hand. I think I'm actually supposed to just go for the Reanimate this turn. My opponent did kind of a weird pause before playing Lavinia in second main. So I'm going to go for Troll here and try to put something resembling a win on the table. Force of Negation, pitching Force of Will, which was their draw for turn. I accept. Yeah, so like Lorien Revealed, Dig Through Time, Force of Will are going to cantrip on my opponent's end. It's pretty good. And Up the Beanstalk does stack. So that's a thing. Having drawn a second Grist, I'm going to attempt to play out the first one. I will just be plussing here. And I can decide whether or not I want to take out Mox Pearl and one copy of Up the Beanstalk with Force of Vigor. I think the answer is yes. I think denying that mana is pretty good right now. Oh, fucking Lavinia. JK. Yeah, Lavinia keeps me from even trying. I'm just gonna let the Grist take the hit. Go to 2 loyalty. Keep the insect around. Time Walk. Gross. Opponents had some good top decks. They got the blue card for the Force of Negation, and then Time Walk after that. So this time I chomp so Grist doesn't die. Bowmasters is going to be good in this matchup. Oh, I only have 1 black source right now. That's so bad. Order? Question mark. That's not bad. That gets me my black mana. I'm going to lose my mind. We'll plus and keep the Lavinia at bay. But that was a series of draws. I'll let Grist take the hit again. I think it matters keeping Grist alive, not what number loyalty Grist is at. I think. Alright, island cycling happening. You don't want my opponent to get to 5 mana to be able to cast one of these and draw 5 cards. This is a Murktide region. I'm super punished for not jump blocking. Oh, God. That feels so bad. So for those of you who aren't Legacy Boomers, you might not have ever seen this card in play, but it's pretty gross. Being wastelanded off that black was so brutal. Alright. Plus here. Tap to drop Collector Ouphe and shut down some of my opponent's mana production. A Force of will cantrip twice, just throwing it out there. Okay, cool. No attack. I don't think this matchup is currently about life totals. So a lot of how scary this is depends on whether or not my opponent just has, like, white land into removal spell. At which point I'm a little spooked. My graveyard's pretty thick as far as a theoretical Grist ultimate is concerned. Oh my god. That Gush just drew 4 cards. Fuck, that was cool. I don't know exactly what my opponent is doing, but I respect the fuck out of it. So one of the lands will come back down. Okay. There are beans. My opponent's discarding. Okay. They discarded a Lorien Revealed and a Wasteland. This gets a basic swamp. This is not a May, right? Yeah, okay. I guess let's pick up a basic swamp. Okay. That got milled. So I'm going to go ahead and plus the Grist. Pass the turn, I think. And then I probably go for end step Orcish Bowmasters. Or Bowmasters in response to something. Play Bowmasters. I don't expect it to resolve. The triple cantripping Force of Will. Ancestral, good card. Ancestral stapled to Force of Will. Better card. Okay, this is what I didn't want to see. Because now the floodgates are open for other artifact mana to be useful. I am hoping on my own turn that I can just finally kill the Lavinia, and then my Force of Vigor is online. So, sacrifice this. Junk an insect. Take out Lavinia. Cast Deathrite Shaman. I'm going to end up Force of Vigoring something on my opponent's turn, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to just attack their mana or if I'm supposed to attack up the Beanstalk. Yuck. I think it's the mana, because I'll still just leave one up the Beanstalk. I think I'm going for the mana here. Ooh, we are getting a response. Force of Negation, sure. I am happy enough with the pseudo time walk that I am probably going to get off of that, though. Like, it's worth a minimum of 2 damage. Okay. Basic swamp getting milled was brutal. Okay, I mean, we've got a new land. And I don't think I need to play it this turn and expose it to yet another wasteland effect. But this turn now is bad. So this is the first turn where my opponent has all of their mana active after Collector Ouphe is gone. So with that land drop, they've got 5 mana, so up the beanstalk nonsense is definitely online. Seems like a Murktide Regent. Not exactly, but same general ballpark. I can just Grist minus on that. Unless my opponent has some cute plan for Grist. They've already used Time Walk, so that's not a... Oh. Okay. My opponent's drawing 6 cards this turn with Up the Beanstalk. I am unsure whether or not this is the correct split of spells. So there's a Swords under both of them. Which one am I killing? It's still probably the Time Walk one. I'll sack the insect. Kill this one. Make my land drop and pass. I suspect that this thing just buries me now. Yep. Alright, so my opponent returns Force of Will. I'm at 17. Force cantrips 3 times. Yeah. I think I have to hold the Bowmasters for a better spot. I honestly can probably just concede. Not like my opponent's going to deck before Mentor kills me, you know? You think they don't have any blue cards in their entire hand? You think that's possible? I cast Orcish Bowmasters. They Force of Will. They're about to draw 9 cards. Actually, maybe they do deck themselves. Huh. Okay. Okay, we're still going. They have 7 cards left in library. I don't think they deck themselves, but you know. I play that and don't use it. Don't think you want to be drawing cards anymore. I don't know. Actually, it's worth a decent amount of damage. I take that back. I'm probably dead. Yeah. Yeah, my opponent is not going to have many cards left in library, but I think they've got me. We're also potentially going to just time out another opponent, though. Opponent's kind of playing a draw all the cards deck, but is relatively light on actual win conditions. It looks like there's 2 whales and 1 mentor, not counting Lavinia as an actual win condition. So that'll do it. Definitely don't want to endurance and shuffle my opponent's graveyard back in. Okay. So my opponent does not have many creatures, so removing the ones that they actually do have probably matters a lot. Alice only seems okay here, because a bunch of my opponent's best cards are like delve cards. I can still use it to like fight Ancestral and random cantrips. I don't know that I'm excited about drawing a Singleton Chalice in the mid game though. I think I'm going to continue to board out the random Hogak. I don't like it in Swords to Plowshares matchups. That gets me a couple of snuff outs. And then, like, how many removal spells do I want to have for my opponent's creatures? And do I want to Nature's Claim up the beanstalk? Unsure. Kind of making it up as we go in this matchup. I'm not excited about Endurance. I'm going to Endurance to play more black cards that can remove my opponent's creatures. I don't think 1 copy of Once Upon a Time fixes this hand. And a mulligan. This is a little slower than I would like. That said, I probably still just keep it and pitch one of the lands. Gonna lead on a basic and pass. A turn 1 Lavinia would randomly kind of be a pain in the ass because my removal spells kind of cheat mana costs. Let's Troll Cycle. Sure. Pick up a Bayou. Feels like my opponent's going to upkeep Ancestral. Yep. Force of Vigor is not what I'm looking for. I'm not super hopeful about Collector Ouphe resolving here. My opponent's on 8 cards. Yep. So now, unfortunately, I'm already at the point where I have a defensive hand. Like, having double removal spell is definitely awkward here. Sure. Okay. I'd like to draw a creature or a reanimate, I suppose. And that was no shuffle from my opponent, so they liked what they found. Strip Mine. Love that. I probably hit Tundra, even though a Wasteland can hit that later. Just taking my opponent off of a color matters a lot. So let's do that. It's awkward versus Gush. Not Gush. Okay. Yeah, so opponents got cantrips. They're taking game actions. It's not anything immediately damning for me. Cast that now? Yeah, I guess I cast that now because I could find like a Deathrite Shaman that I might want to play. Oh, good enough to get a response. Sure. Make a land drop and pass. I'm slightly surprised that Flusterstorm is still in, but a lot of times blue decks don't have that many sideboard options for fair decks such as mine. Yes, that's fine. So that shuts off Snuff out for right now, but Dismember's still fine. I guess I respond with Dismember there. So I drop to 16 life to cast this. My opponent makes a land drop, they're back at 7 cards. Cool. And this is absolutely the sort of thing I'm looking for. I'm looking to just stick a threat, just something that taxes my opponent in some way. Unfortunately, they're probably pretty light on artifact mana as of right now, because they would have just played it out. They don't have, like, hard green mana yet. That's a Forager. I mean, I'm going to try to snuff it out. Like, show me another counterspell. They did. You reanimate. That's just a turn too late, though, right? Like, I can reanimate a troll, but now my opponent just has access to Swords to Plowshares. I mean, I guess I make them do it, but it feels bad. Gah. You know, actually, regarding Flusterstorm, I guess since I have Reanimate, it's fine. I was just thinking about all my creatures. I'm at 11. My opponent can Ancestral. Go back up to 5 cards. Short of my opponent timing themselves out, I don't expect to win this match at this point. Well, attempt to kill it. I think it's better to do now so that I don't give my opponent the chance to cast instant speed things with their mana open. But fuck. The 4 life is super costly there. Now they've got a Swords of Plowshares, so I won't be able to get tricksy with something like an Orcish Bowmasters. That doesn't do anything. I don't know that I'm on outs anymore, because I can't Dismember next turn. I can't Snuff out next turn. I don't have flying blockers. I don't have 3 mana for Grist. Don't see an out from here. Definitely not any outs now. Alright, GG's. Final round here. I will keep my hand. Oh god, Chancellor of the NX. We're probably playing against the mono white initiative deck. And I do not like my hand against... Back it up. We lost game 1. My opponent's going to play an initiative creature on turn 1. And we're screwed. Like, my 1-drop would get countered as well. Because of the Chancellor of the NX trigger. Yeah. Well, I can never block that. Realistically, I can't remove it either. Like, I'm not going to get to Grist. Is there a removal spell I'm forgetting about? Orcish Bowmasters doesn't do it. It's just Grist. So, do I have lines to win, or do I concede to hide information? Let's say I draw Reanimate, and I can put a Grief in play and contest the initiative. I will get hit for 5 or 6 damage. Let's call it 6. Let's call it 6 twice. Let's say my opponent does 12 to me. I can reanimate, take 4, which is really 5 because of Verdant Catacombs. That is 17 damage. My opponent kills me in 3 Seasoned Dungeoneer swings. I have outs. Worth playing. I am terrified, though. So, we fetch. Grab Bayou. We will Grief. Pitching a Grist. Paying the 1 for Chancellor. I will take an Archon. God damn it. No! I thought about Wasteland, but I guess I could have gotten Swamp this... No, I can't get Swamp this turn and then Swamp Cycle. I guess I could have gotten Forest this turn. Turn 2, Swamp Cycle off of Forest, get Swamp, and then play around Wasteland that way. Yeah, it loses flexibility, but it's good. Oh, fuck, my math didn't take into account Trap. Yeah. That's the Reanimate I wanted. But I messed up in not getting double basic. I still think I lose from there anyway. Ugh. This is what the Virtue's Ruin was in the sideboard for, just in case you were curious. So I have these 5 cards and can consider Tabernacle, but probably not going to want to play that. This is not a Chalice matchup. I might just want the possibility of slamming a Hogak as an 8/8 Trampler. It's just so slow. My opponent will have exile-based removal. Let's go Misstep out. Bowmasters isn't great, but is 2 bodies. 2 bodies matters. White Plume is still chump blockable. Alright, Hogak out. 2 cards I need to cut. I could just cut these. None of my creatures are just gonna like... Ugh, I don't like how this matchup lines up for me. Sand doesn't do anything. Like, if I play a turn 1 Bowmaster, probably on my opponent's turn, in an attempt to take the initiative, the Grief and the Force of Vigor in my hand both do nothing. What about this one? Keep this pitching the Troll. Try to Once Upon a Time into a Collector Ouphe to shut off artifact mana. I will buy that. But I hate that this is the route that I'm taking. Grist on turn 2? Yeah. Grist on turn 2. So then I will Grief my opponent, pitching Bowmasters, and hope that I can poke a hole in their 7-card hand. I mean, I can take Mox Pearl. Yeah, I can take Mox Pearl here. And you can Swords to Plowshares my insect tokens. I am good with this. In before my opponent rips Black Lotus. Okay, so Spirit Guide. Make an insect and pass. See if my opponent wants to use the Swords to Plowshares on it. Negative. Oh, wow. I would not have conceded that game there. I don't think this is over. Like, I have 1 card left. Like, I can remove some creatures, but I don't think that one was over. The game where I'm on the draw is terrifying, though. I also have to keep in mind that Chancellor is a thing, so like being on the draw could get even worse. So this hand goes Elvish Spirit Guide, get a land, reanimate Troll on turn 1. It's bad versus Swords to Plowshares, but then I can just do it fucking again. So I'll keep. Chancellor has been revealed. Got it. Okay. Yes. Okay. White Plume Adventurer. My opponent gets their land. I do not want to draw basic Swamp here. So let's immediately Swamp Cycle and pick that up. Grief. Wow, this hand got hard to play all of a sudden. Do I pay for Grief to take an initiative creature out of my opponent's hand and then double reanimate next turn? Hopefully one of their creatures and one of mine. I think so. I can't play the fetch land this turn if I do it, so an Archon could get weird. Alright. Grief. Pitch. Deathrite Shaman. Pay the 1. Chancellor of the Annex. All right, opponent has Swords to Plowshares. I will keep that in mind. But I want to put that Chancellor into the graveyard, I think. White Flame is so much damage. All right, I'm at 15. We're about to be at a lot lower life total. Damn it. Dead? Feels like dead. I take 10 from this, and then my reanimates can't actually bring these things back anymore. I want to have a creature in play for a top deck grist. I guess I could draw a Dismember. Let's thin the deck, get a basic. Pass turn. That was a brutal top deck. So I'm at 9. This attack brings me to 4. Oh. Now I don't have outs. Alright. That's it. But our unpowered deck put up 2 wins, so I'll take that. Alright, so where are we at now? I don't feel happy at the end of playing this league. I feel kind of bored. I feel like a lot of my opponents used a significant amount more clock than I did. And while some of that is probably inexperience on their end, a lot of that is the fact that I, for the most part, can't influence the stack or do too much on my opponent's turn. Kind of talking about that. Like, if I'm going to Force of Vigor, that's something I'm probably going to do in my opponent's upkeep most of the time, right? But like, as far as stuff that I'm normally going to do on my opponent's turn, I don't have a lot of that. Like, I'm missing out on that blue card draw, that blue ability to interact with my opponent's spells. And if I'm comparing this deck to unpowered vintage decks, I can feel that gap a little bit. But this feels reasonable compared to regular vintage decks, which probably means that this is a good option for budget stuff. The Grief Reanimate Troll Bowmasters package was very good, and Collector Ouphe stole a lot of games. As far as individual card choices, I'm not super sold on this. Like, the fact that you can go and cast that off of, like, Orcish Bowmasters and the token is kind of the idea. But it feels to me like you want to get ahead early, and you're probably not going to have those 5 cards in your graveyard early on, because, like, we're not cantripping or anything. Like, outside of maybe the trolls and maybe a Once Upon a Time that we start the game with. So I'm not sold on this slot. Maybe this becomes one other copy of something else that's here. The sideboard felt reasonable. I'm not sure if you play Virtue's Ruin. That last match felt abysmal. And the initiative matchup might end up just being so bad that you don't even bother sideboarding, like devoting resources for it, and you like play an extra graveyard hate card or another card that's going to be good against blue decks or spell-based combo decks. I don't know the metagame well enough, I think, to properly advise on sideboard changes. But I like the stuff that's here, except maybe this. Now, maybe I just got smoked by initiative, and normally I can contest it better, but I don't want to be playing against a Swords to Plowshares deck that can also just play the initiative very, very consistently on turn 1, sometimes with Chancellor backup. So yeah, overall, I am very positive on this deck in terms of being a great unpowered choice. I would be comfortable pursuing something like this if I were going down the rabbit hole of trying to play unpowered at Eternal Weekend. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm sure my donor would very much appreciate them. I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and if you end up needing to pick up any of these cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. All right, see ya.